The time has come to unwrap this piece. Oops, I didn't mean to kick the tripod then. I just thought I found this little yellow that I was telling you about. If you're interested, it's a variegated anchor thread. Number 1304. Anyway, here's this piece that I pinned out yesterday, and I'm going to unpin it now. Now, you might notice, although I don't know whether it's clear enough, that in some of the, underneath some of the drawing pins, there are actually, like there's a little circle. Well, you can easily just scratch that out. That's the beauty of felt. If you did it on something finer, I think you'd be a bit stuck. So I'm just taking all the pins out. It's fairly dry now. The paper's quite dry. The felt is dry, and I haven't had any heating or anything on. It's just dried off in the night. And today is a beautiful day outside. It couldn't be more of a contrast to yesterday. It's a bit cold and windy, but it's bright, and feeling quite optimistic. So there we are. I've taken all the pins out. Now you can see straight away when I pick it up that it's maintaining that lovely square shape, and there are little holes around the edges, but I think possibly from the back I would just rub the edges to get rid of the pinholes. You could use, if you did it on say like a cork board or something like that, you could use just straight fine, very fine dressmaking pins, I expect. But really with felt, it's not the end of the world if you get a bit of a dotty, holy thing, because you can just squish it out. So as you can see, it's behaving really nicely. It's nice and flat, nice and rectangular, and I can mount it onto a background now. So I just thought I'd show you that. I'm just showing you the outcome of my machining on this piece now. I'm finding it quite difficult to rescue. I'm not so sure it's going to turn out very well at all, but we'll persevere and see what happens. If I wasn't doing it for the video, I would probably put it on one side for quite a long time and then come back to it later. As you can see, I've tried to minimise this with a lot of this stitching, but it hasn't. I think it's rather hard, really. Maybe some of the some of the machining could be sort of thickened up with hand stitching. I'm not entirely sure. One little bit that I quite like, that I'm rather pleased with, that I've done, is I've stitched around these little pebbles, but I've kind of got a bit carried away and did some little circular stitching in the dark colour, which I quite like. You learn something every time you make a new piece, really. So most of it has been stitched now. I'm going to sit and do some hand stitching and show it you at various stages. So this won't actually be finished during this video, because otherwise we'll be waiting a very long time for the outcome. And as you know, it takes a long time to upload. I don't want to keep you waiting until the middle of next week. I haven't done anything in this corner with these pebbles yet. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those. I've used, the threads I've used have been the very dark one I showed you last time, which I've used here to just outline things. And this turquoisey one here. And I've also used my current, as I keep saying, this is my favourite, that's my favourite, but this here, this goldy brown. Now, I haven't done stitches around all the leaves. I've done it around some of them. I try to avoid doing the same thing to each leaf or each bit, because I think it's more natural to have things looking a little bit off-centre, perhaps. Or I haven't done anything with this yet, which looks a little bit like a mad woman with long hair and some earrings. I'll have to do something with that, won't I? Because it's always a problem to have something that looks like a face on a piece. I remember I once did a piece that I was extremely proud of, and I sold it, and then I had a photograph of it from when it was in an exhibition, and I took it to a workshop to show people, and someone said, oh, it looks like a koala bear. So ever since then I've not liked the piece. So I do try and avoid having anything that looks like anything. So there it is, in all its glory, and I'm going to sit and do some hand stitching in a little while on it, and I shall update now and again. I thought I'd show you this piece that I made a couple of years ago as part of some pieces in an exhibition that were themed on the poem by W.B. Yeats, The Lake I Live In Is Free. I just took lines from the poems and I related them to the place that we were staying. And this was just a different sort of making a piece on felt, where I made separate motifs and I appliqued velvet to them and I cut them out and attached them to the background. It's really the wrong format to be showing you the whole thing close up, but I can pan in a little bit now and show you what I did. When I say pan in, I'm just walking towards it. So you may have seen on my Facebook logo and what have you that these 4 pieces actually that are at the bottom were actually my kind of what do you call it, icon. I just put them in a row on a piece of card and photographed them. I think they look as if they could be really enormous on that little tiny picture, but as you can see they're not. They're only about 6 inches long at the longest. I like them so much I didn't know what to do with them, and I didn't want to really alter them, so I applied them to, I made a piece of felt especially in a background colour that would complement them, and in actual fact, I called it Low Sounds by the Shore because some of this the colours in this piece were very much like the seaweed on the shore where we went to in Ireland. And really I'm showing you this because it has very minimal hand stitching on it, which I really enjoyed doing, and it's quite effective, I think. There's some very large French knots there done with a variegated, quite thick thread, which I think have worked out really nicely. And then I've done some very big hand stitching in the Burmilana wool, just a running stitch, and I've appliqued made some other pieces which I've machine stitched and appliqued those to the background. I had this in a competition and it was hanging up somewhere, and I saw these ladies just stroking the velvet with their hands like this. They were all standing in a row stroking away, but it hasn't come to any harm. And I rather like the background piece of felt as well. And even something as simple as kind of a straight stitch, but done, you know, all done parallel to one another, that's quite effective, especially when you do it with the variegated threads. Anyway, I just thought you might like to see that. Oh, and I've couched a piece of dyed gimp, it's called. It's really nice. So that's Low Sounds by the Shore. It's slightly richer than it looks in the video, I think. And it was quite a nice piece. Oh, I won the competition, by the way, that it was in. So here's the piece now with a bit of hand stitching done. I've decided to use a kind of limited palette. So I've got one of these Oliver Twist machine threads, which I'd forgotten that I had, in a nice purple. And I've started to, I'll just move that. I've started to stitch around some of the grey areas. Now it is a bit dull, but I think later I might put something a bit brighter in, like I did on the other one with the bright yellow. I'm still not thrilled with this piece, but it's getting better. It's improving with the addition of a bit of this purple stitch, sort of just filling up certain areas. In fact, I think it's probably going to be a piece that hasn't got much background, that isn't filled in. I've gone around these little circles with the stitching. In some areas it's just a plain back stitch, and in other areas it's a running stitch. Nothing too difficult or complicated. See, I've gone right off the edge here. So the colours I'm thinking of using besides that purple, are over here on the table. I think this green will be quite a nice addition. And there's a sort of even brighter green here that's quite nice, but I do feel it might need something a bit shiny. I don't know. And of course, I've got some black ready just in case I need to take some areas back. So my palette's really green and purple, and I may put, well, light green and purple, and I may put some shinier bits in. I'm not entirely sure at the moment, so I'll just keep popping in with bits. So I've done a bit more stitching on this. I've moved into a more comfortable room now because it's a little bit brighter. So I've treated that area there as a sort of leaf, and so that's taken some of the horrible dark brown off that stem. I've done some of those little bar stitches, only I've done them in light on this, brightened it up. I don't know, I'm not so sure about that, but I mean I like the stitch, but I won't say what it reminds me of. But anyway, maybe you have got purer thoughts than mine. I did a little bit here which I quite like, and that's why I wanted to put some more somewhere else. I've gone onto the leaves and I've put the veins in a lot of them. I have probably done, yes, I've done a bit there as well. So I'm thinking now that I'm going to put something something a bit shinier somewhere now. I'm not altogether thrilled with this piece. I know I said that with the last one, but I think in the end the last one came out quite well, but I think this is rather confusing perhaps. I don't know, maybe it looks better on the screen, but I'm wondering about turning it the other way up. But then of course I've stitched it in one direction, and so it's not necessarily... No, I don't think I will. It just looks a little bit confused. I think when I get something bright on it, but I am persevering with it because, you know, you never know. I'm sorry to be so negative about it. It's just a bit dull, really. Anyway, so that's the next bit of stitching I've done. I'm going to do some more now. So here's the final outcome, well, not absolutely final outcome of this piece. I've done quite a bit more stitching since we cut. I've put some French knots here and there. I've done a bit of hand stitching on those circles to draw them in a bit, and I've put some black lines around a few of the leaves just to give it a bit of darkness. So it's quite a floppy sort of wobbly looking piece, as you can see. So I could just iron the back of it, but this area here is smaller than that area over there, look, well, a bit. So I'm going to stretch this as well. So I've got the same bit of tissue which I've re-wet on the same old grotty towel, and I'm going to pin this out. I know you've already seen this, but it doesn't hurt to look again, does it? This time I've started in the corner. Now I'll take that out because I don't think that's a good idea. So again, we start in the middle at the top, not the corner at all. Don't know why I did that. And then I'm going to really pull this because I want it really flat. It looks a bit nicer up here in the brighter in front of the window. So it is quite pretty colours. Quite a rich lilac, which I've left those unstitched, those flat areas of pinky lilac because I rather like them. Some of them I've stitched. I might even go back and stitch some more. Oh, that's not pulled out enough. So I'm just showing this because, you know, there's a different problem with this than there was with the other piece, because it's a very, very textured piece. It needs to be flattened. So as you can see, that corner, he's going to have to do a lot of work to get that out there. That's it. I'll go back to this corner now. And although you want to keep some of the texture, I suppose, it will find its own sort of comfort zone when you unpin it. And actually it's looking better already. I removed the Screaming Mad Woman from the top that I told you about, that little bit of a pebble on the top that was a sort of little wraith-like figure. I pulled it off because I didn't like it. I left 2 bits on. I might even pull those off before I've finished. I'm working very hard. I'm really tugging at this to stick it, to fasten it down. I hope you're not finding this repetitive. I didn't actually show you myself hand stitching on this one, did I? But they're only very simple straight stitches. A lot of them. I have gone a bit mad with the French knots there, but and actually that was quite kind of, it was a big bubbly bit and it didn't look right. So when I finished stitching the French knots, I've gone round with a bit of tiny thin black thread in a spiral to sort of pull it in, and I've put a bit of the Coats shiny thread around the edges there. That's come out, so I need to pull it back again. This video is quite bitty. It's been made in lots of separate pieces, but it's really the only way I can do it. I can't sit videoing my entire sewing afternoon because it would be much too long to upload, I'm afraid. I'm taking this corner out now because I don't like the way it's gone. I think it needs to come over sideways a bit more, so that's come out. There. I have my, as I say, I have my cutting, it's a thick cutting mat, one of those sort of self-heal ones with a pebbly side, so it's quite good to pin into. It's quite easy. I think that's okay. I'm still not terribly happy with that corner, but there's only so far you can stretch things. See, I put that in so hard now I can't get it out. You could use those 3-pointed silk pins if you had a slightly less difficult background to pin it into. I hope some of you have tried this. I must say I really like the effect that you get when you do this. It looks better already. I'm quite keen on it now. The thing is, once it's stretched out, when I lift it off, I can always have another look at the stitching, can't I? I'm still a bit unsure about that. Never mind. And so, I'll leave this till tomorrow. And when I press it down like this, it's only so it soaks up a bit of moisture, which kind of irons it. As I said, the theory is it evaporates upwards, and it must alter the way the fibres lay. And it works very well. It works really well if you machine stitch something that's got quite puckered. I mean, it's not really performing the same function on felt because, well, I suppose it is, but it's quite good if you do, say, something on, you know, silk or something like that, and you want to stretch it. It works really well. I did a banner for church, and I did the huge figure of Christ, and the face was in a real mess, and I stretched that out like this, and it really improved it. Anyway, that's enough of this for now. Now the next video is going to be the last one, and it's going to be next week, so it's just an odd one. I did promise you 6 weeks with 2 videos a week. Well, that makes 12 videos, and this is the 11th, so you are getting 12. If there's anything before next week that you'd like me to show you again, please get in touch by email or send me a Facebook message or leave a comment on the blog. You know, I'm willing to show you all sorts of things. So thank you for watching. Bye.